Welcome to Doug Does Stuff. I'm Doug, and well, I've recorded this video a few times already, so let's give it another go. We're talking my Anycubic Kobra S1. Is that a lemon? Yeah, because this just might be a lemon at this point. And when is a lemon a lemon? Well, we're pretty close, because I'm pretty sour right now. Listen, I want to love my Anycubic Kobra. I'm coming from the Ender series. This thing is fast enough. It's printed well at the beginning. I mean, come on over here to my workbench and let me just show you what I'm talking about. It started off giving me stuff like this. A Hue Forge Spaceman in 3 colors, 4 colors. Like, that's pretty nice. Nice layers. It's given me some great looking coasters, and this is my first layer. All right, that's the top layer. That one's not as good, but yeah, like that. Like, look at that. Not a layer line really in sight. It's given me good coasters. Another example. It has actually printed all of my multi-board tiles, which is like 40 something, to continue my wall without problems, and very little, if any, take that off of there, stringing throughout it. You can't say that about my other printer. I've even printed all of the necessary hardware to hang it up on the wall. And that's how it started. But then the problems began. And that's where I'm kind of losing my mind. So it all started when the hot end leaked and got pushed out into the poop chute, and it was a mess. And then I had to replace a circuit board in here in the back of the extruder. I had to take off the back cover as well. I'm gonna back you up. I had to take off the back cover and push in all of the connectors because they popped out, and I've actually had to do that more than once. My bed is so unlevel. It was unlevel by a 1.6 millimeter variance. That's 8 layers. Now listen, through all of this, Anycubic support has been great. Anycubic support did send me a new bed to install, which I have not yet. They've sent me a new nozzle. They have sent me the circuit board. They've really worked with me through email to try and figure this out. And when it wouldn't work, they have sent me pieces, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that Anycubic is standing behind their printer and trying to help. So kudos to you, Anycubic. Thank you. But I'm still having problems. So I was going to make this video, which I've tried to make for the better part of the last week, about leveling the bed, giving the original bed one last chance to get level before we could, before we put in the other one. I've done everything from belt skipping to level it, to installing washers underneath, taking off the aluminum plate or the metal plate and putting in washers underneath that. And through all of that, I would have to do it. Then I would have to go through the process of putting on the digital caliper and probing the bed. And it's taken me, like I said, the better part of a week to do this. But I was able to get my bed within 0.4 variance across the entire bed. And that's, to me, that for Anycubic, that's level. I've been shooting for like 0.1 max on my enders, but I'll take a 0.4 over a 1.6. So I was able to do that. And I'm going to show you in this video, I've chapterized it so you can skip around and see what's going on. I have found some things in doing this that I think might be part of the problem as well, and hopefully Anycubic can fix those and help us all out. So I did all that. I went from layer lines like that to layer lines like that. I know the printer has the ability to put down a solid layer. It's happened once, a long time ago. So I know it can do it. But for some reason, It's just not. And I don't know if it's a slicer problem. I don't know if it's a firmware problem. I've changed the nozzles. I have changed flow rates and Z offsets. And the one thing I'm not going to do is, hear me, I am not putting a Band-Aid to make it look good. I am not going to increase my line widths to something enormous, increase my flow rate to something so much that I'm just putting globs of plastic down to hide the root of the problem. There's a problem here, and whether it's with this printer or Anycubic itself, excuse me, we need to fix it. So thanks for coming. Whether you're here because you are having the problems or you're here because you have a great printer and you don't understand, welcome to the other half, how we live. Or if you're here investigating whether or not you want to buy a Kobra, listen, take this information, use it as you will. Thank you for watching. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, leave a comment, and hopefully, just hopefully someday, I'll be able to print something. I'll loosen up this screw like I've done in my other video. That gives a little there. And now, just take a pair of pliers and pull this out. Oh no! Out and over like that, right? Now that loosens that up. And the way it goes is, as you saw, the hook goes under and through. So I just leave that right there. Now I've got lots of play in here, and I can really skip over things. So I've got to bring up the right side. So the way I'm going to do that is bringing down, let me show you up here. To do that, I've got the bed raised up as high as it will go, right? And I need to bring it up, like I said, 0.3. So I'm going to bring down this side by a click. So to do that, I've got to pull the belt this way, right? And that will bring the whole carriage down. So let's put it all the way up. Now we're going to hold this and we're going to try and skip. There we go. Just that easy. Just holding this. This belt is so loose, if you push it, it will go over the top. So now, looking up here, did I eliminate that gap? I did. I moved it 2 clicks, which is 0.4. So now when I run the calibration, I bet you this side is even, if not a little bit high. So let's put this back together and test it out. I have tried to level this thing countless times in the last 24 hours by flipping it over, pretty much doing just this, putting it on its backside nice and carefully, as you know, taking your 2.5 millimeter wrench, loosening that screw. I mean, I am becoming an absolute expert at this, doing that, going to my mesh that I wrote down and seeing that, well, I do have the front of the bed pretty well leveled left to right. It dips in the back. So what I would do for that is get in front of you, sorry. We need to get the back of the bed to go up a couple clicks. So we need the back of the bed to go up. So I know if I pull this way, everything goes down. So what I would do is hold the Z rod, and then it's easier to go this way because there's the tensioner in here, and just believe me, I've done this a lot. And then while holding the Z screw, there was 1 click. I don't know if you heard it. All right, I need to do, what was it, 0.7, so 2, 3. So I just moved it 3 clicks. All right, after I do that, come on in. It's easier if you take this off, loop that on. I put a little mark where things go, try not to get in your way. Tighten that up. Put the printer back on its side, nice and carefully. And why do I say that? I'm going to cut in front of you. Well, because I have the whole back of the printer off. See back here? Because moving this printer around loosens cables, and then you get that 10-411, 10-412 error, and you got to go in, and there is a connector in the back that you have to push in. Anyway, so now that I've skipped the belt, I know that from doing, I know you guys love it, I have to come in each time I do this, put this on here, probe the bed, see, you know, what's what, and go from there. So I would come in, I would heat up the bed, go through that process each and every time to try and get this as level as possible. We are going to go ahead and take out the 4 screws on the bed in order for us to make sure the printer's off and unplugged in order to get to where we need to go. 1. All right, get those off of there. Put those off to the side, and let's get our bed off. We seem to be, oh, I've never noticed this before. Maybe because I never really took the time to examine the bed. I'm going to pick you up here. There's a screw right there, but it comes up from the bottom. That's interesting. That's very interesting because that's where my biggest dip usually is in that corner. You know, could it be so easy that that screw is pulling the bed down? I don't know, Anycubic. All right, well, it is not, you know, light. It is not a 2mm. It is a Phillips head. All right, let's get one of those. All right. And now, oh yay, you can't see this, but it's all the way in the back corner here. And I'm going to, all right, well, while I was down here, I noticed that there are 3 more screws over here that I believe I'm going to have to take off. Those are the same 2.0 wrenches. Let's get those off. All right, thanks for sticking with me. I am hoping that what we are doing is going to give us our desired results. Because how cool would it be for us to find the problem and fix it right here for you all to see. And if nothing else, I mean, I'm showing you how to take the bed apart, kind of, because I don't have the camera down low enough. But you'll have to trust me, there are 3 screws that look like that on the bottom. All right, yeah, that loosens up that. Oh, I took you off. There we go. Ah. Okay, well, that's why. Take that out of there. Now we should, come on. Yep. Pop right up. Anyway, spacers. Yeah, so these spacers here, the ones from Maker Online, they go, if you're looking, into these 4, so, into those 4 spaces, which, like I said, to me, all that's going to do, if I put all 4 in, and I know the front is level, if I put all 4 in, all it's going to do is push the bed up by the same amount. If I want to push the back of the bed up, it would make sense to put it just in the back. All right, well, for sake of doing this, we'll do all 4. Then we'll take it apart and do the back too, and we'll go for there. So I'm going to stop this. You don't need to watch me. I'm going to put it in, and then I'll bring you back. All right, so the printer is done. I've taken time to run it with the spacers I printed off of Maker Online in all 4 bed spots. I did it with just in the front. I'm sorry, just in the back, none in the front. And I did get different results. Now, this is not in any way a scientific experiment, and I am doing my best to try and figure out how we can best get our beds to be level. So, listen, I know there's probably another way to do it, because I'm going to tell you right now, the bed was heated probably longer for the other print, and the more you heat your bed, the more it warps over time. All right, so just keep all that in mind. We're trying. So what happened? Well, here, let's take a look here. Here are the results. The green is the initial, right? And because we have to take the screws out every time, I didn't ensure they were in the same exact place, so that could have had an impact. So the first time was with all 4 spacers, and we could see there actually was a pretty big difference of like 0.4 there. Over here was a difference of 0.2, so from -1 to -8, 0.8. Up front, -0.03 to -0.25, so not really 0.006 difference. That's not too big for me. Over here, though, -0.18. It was originally 0.07, so the middle, -0.08, -0.01. And then I left the back 2 spacers in, and that gave me actually pretty consistent results. -0.59, -0.59. That was semi-encouraging. -0.025, and then -0.055, and then 0.114. So I mean, we're close. And what looks like, if this is my bed, it looks like we have a gradual slope backwards, like that. That's pretty uniform across the bed. That's actually interesting, because maybe then I skip the belt on the back there and bring up the back plate, the back carriage, and bring these 2 down, and then just maybe we might have a pretty consistent plate. But here's the thing. It looks worse because the difference was 1.6 delta over the biggest change, then 111, and now it's under a 1 millimeter difference. It's a 0.7 millimeter difference, so that's like a 3-layer change versus 8 layers. So we are getting somewhere, but here's the thing. When I was in there taking these off, right, to put in those spacers, I noticed that underneath the metal, which is what you want to be level, are circles all around. And I thought, hey, you know what? What if we were to try to put some spacers in there to pick up the bed uniformly, is that a word, all the way across? So when I was in there, I measured off camera what those circles measured, and I created my own spacers out of TPU to go in those spots. I created 2 different styles, just ones to sit in those slots, get over there, and then ones with like a button on it to give it more surface area, but it's that right there, and it's going to sit and hold it up. I think I'm going to install these and see what happens. So let's do that. All right, so I'm talking about these right here. I'm thinking that maybe if we take the spacers we just created and we start putting them all the way around, just maybe, we might be able to get this bed level. Now, is this going to work? Oh, heck, I don't know. Are we going to try? Yes, we are. All right, there's two different size washers or spacers here. These are the smaller ones, and then the bigger ones go in the middle. Okay, I actually had other spacers that I printed that, yeah, were pretty close. They just don't have the shelf on them or the button. And these are the big ones, and those will go into those spots. And you don't need to watch me do the rest of these. Pretty much I'm just putting a button in every hole. All right, so I have put in the things that I created, the little washers, the little standoffs, right? The big ones have holes, and then the other ones have, they're like little buttons. They have a washer that goes in there. And I put them in all of the spots around the bed. Okay, so it's done, and here are the numbers. Looking at it, we have right where all of the screws are a dip, and that's because I think that washer that I put in there, this thing, it was 0.2 lower than the ones I had created but forgot to put a hole in. So yeah, I could potentially redo those and maybe get the bed to be more level through the middle. Looking at the rest of this, my back corner is at a 0.9 and 0.229 up front and 0.2 or positive 0.25 in the front left. And the middle stayed pretty consistent at negative 0.018. So what's going on? Well, I mean, I think Anycubic has a problem with their beds, and I think they know that, which is why they're so willing to send new beds, right? I think some things that they should really know is first, I think the first thing they should look at is this ground screw back here on the bed. I understand the bed needs to be grounded. However, when we looked at it, that plastic connector that the wire goes into and then the metal ring that the screw goes through to make the connection, I think as you tighten that screw down, you pull the metal connector up. I'm sorry, you pull the plastic connector up, which in turn pulls the bed down. So if you're seeing a big dip in this corner pretty consistently, something tells me that is a potential error. I think one other thing they could possibly do is put a lip of plastic around the inside of this plastic carriage for the metal bed to sit on. Around the outside, for the outside of the plate to sit on, I don't think it could pull it down. That would at least give a uniform level all the way across and around the bed. Then you could use your screws to up and down and hopefully adjust the warp in the bed if you have one. It's not a bundle of wires, but there's this heating element or this, whatever this is. There's a mark on my plate. Oh, you guys can't see that. All right, sorry. Reconfigure. There's a resistor, there's something here, a big metal chunk that right here is pushing onto my plate. And I said there was a bump in the plate. I'm wondering if this is pushing on that. All right, so that was a long video, and I thank you if you sat through it or if you jumped around and watched parts and got here to the intro. Thank you for watching. Hit that like, hit that subscribe if you haven't done it yet. Leave a comment. So at this point, where are we? Well, I have printed over 500 grams of filament at this point to try and figure out what's going on. While I started with prints like this with layer line widths that did not come together, I eventually got to something closer to this, where there are parts where it's really good and parts where just no matter what I do, I can't get it to come together. I've increased line flow rates. I've lowered the Z offset. I did the line width thing. And when you do that, you do get a better print, except there is still some line width problems there as well. Listen, if you just print from the bottom up and your first layer is your bottom, maybe it's not a problem for you. For me, because I print some of my models face down and then this becomes my top, I need to have a good first layer, and that's the driving force here. So knowing everything we talked about, where do we go from here? I didn't really want to do it, but I think my next step is to replace the bed and see if that makes a difference. Because while I've gotten this to be within a 0.4 to 0.5 variance on the bed, I really want it under 0.2. I don't know if this is true or not, if I read somewhere that Clipper wants 0.2 or less variance. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But still, I was at a 1.6, now I'm at a 0.4. And yeah, so that's where I'm at. That's our next step. I really just want to print, to be honest. But I'm going to change out the bed, and we're going to obviously record how that goes and show you. So thanks for watching. Appreciate you sitting through this convoluted multi-day video, and stick around for the next one. Thanks.